we have the Eddie Mentore on with us today, and it's going to be an excellent show. Let's get started.
Thanks for having me on, friend.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I'm excited. We were just chatting really quick and we had a couple conversations this weekend. So we're definitely going to dive into some of that content. But we're talking about the Bitcoin craze. Like, first, we'll just talk about the craze because it's there. I mean, people are going so big, millions and billions, and it's wild. And you just said you're at a friend's house, totally like from basement to 60 some million overnight. It's just crazy. And did you jump in on any of that? Or were you one of those people who were like, I'm not doing it yet. I'm not doing it yet.
No, I've definitely been involved in crypto for a while. And he, thank God I knew him because he gave us plays that were incredible. Yeah, I didn't make 60 million like he did, but he definitely gave us some really good calls. So I'm grateful for the friendship.
Yeah.
And I'm also excited to see people like him win, people that are just humble people that are good humans.
Well, that's what it's all about. Being an entrepreneur, that's the story. Rags to riches, humble beginnings. I mean, that's what we talk about all the time. I think it's really important. And why I love doing the show is because I hear from people from every different background, every different lifestyle. I had an incredible person on yesterday, comes from, a mob family, and she's incredible, has an incredible story. And just, she's an incredible woman and their family is beautiful. It's great to hear all different sides and perspectives and just really celebrate people who have won, got through the trauma, got through the pain. And I know you deal with that a lot too, when you're coaching people, when you're mentoring people. And that's what we do it for, to watch the evolution but also what I feel when we're doing shows, when we're working with people, what we get out of it is even greater. Oh, yeah. You get a different perspective. You get advice or even one word that you're like, it totally changed my life. But the story is what's so important. So let's talk about your story a little bit, Eddie. I've known you for 4 years now. We obviously are in the space together in multi-level marketing and got to know each other that way. You've been in that space, done very well. You're an incredible leader and you've done just fabulous things there. But, you have a really cool background. And I loved it. When I first met you, you told me you were a dancer. And I was like, that is effing cool. So I just want to hear the beginning of the story. Where did you grow up? What was Eddie's life like? And how did it evolve into this entrepreneurial space and all the things?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Connecticut. My father came from a country called Guyana, right next to Venezuela. My mother was from Central America. My father came to this country. I mean, he grew up in poverty, like no running water, no electricity, like just had nothing. Came to this country at 16 years old, and he built one of the most successful. I guess you can say he was the number one contractor for Con Edison. So Con Edison is the energy plant for New York City.
Sure.
So he built their ventilation systems, jet engines. I mean, he did the ventilation system for the Twin Towers, like big stuff, right?
Right.
So his vision for Eddie, like family, honor.
Yeah.
Take over the family business, take over the family name. Like that was his vision for me.
Yeah.
But I literally had no interest in that. Like my brothers wanted to do that. And even though it was like everything was set up, silver platter, take over the family business, I just didn't have that passion. And I have a heart for people that struggle to know like what they love, what their passion is, because thankfully God's never put me in a place where I didn't know what I wanted. At least temporarily, I always knew what I wanted or what my passion was. I never felt like I was going against what I believed in. And so at the time, I was just obsessed with dancing. I was obsessed with professional dancing, traveling, competing. Like that was my world. Had an injury. And then my father thought, okay, well, now Eddie's going to take over the family business and run this with me. And I said, I'm going to go sell like health products, and do that more. And so to him, it was like the biggest slap in the face ever. I dropped out of college and I went all into the space.
Yeah.
And, after a few years, I realized like people got a lot of stuff they're working through. They got a lot of issues and stuff they're dealing with. And later on, we realized it was trauma, and we have like energetic blockages that hold us back from moving on and growing and evolving. And a lot of times these energetic blockages affect our relationships with our family, with our loved ones, with our spouses. And it makes it hard for us to kind of like attract the life that we want. And so in the beginning, it was great because we were learning about like sales and marketing and building teams. then it became like much bigger than that. And now today, like I just have a passion. I still love, building teams and developing people, but now I just have a bigger passion of like helping people at a deeper level. Cause I feel like spiritually, when people can move those blockages, it changes everything. So, so 17 years in the space of, direct sales, now marketing. And now today we're just, really passionate about just like what we were just saying, just helping people, hosting retreats, and showing people like a much deeper level of healing.
Well, when you first get into any type of business, it's the baby steps. Obviously, you come in ignorance on fire. We all do, because we're like, woo, we got a product and we're going to make money. And we get excited, that surface level stuff. And you go through that. And once you start getting to those levels and you start really understanding what it's all about, it's about relationships. But what I found, network marketing attracts so many unique people, and you attract people in that will impact your life forever, good or bad. Like you just, and when you start to really find out, and you said it, when you really start to dig deep in, how do I grow through this? It's not about the money. It's about the energy that you're putting in and out, and what you're like, let's talk about money, your energy around money. People always say, I want to make $1 million. I want to make $1 million. Okay. But if you have an issue with money, if you haven't healed your money story, you're never going to get past that block. And I think it's really important to talk about that on the show. I think that's kind of where, because I have old issues that, although I worked through so many, they still come up a little bit, where I have this, you're going to be poor, you're going to die, you're going to lose everything. Like I have that like creep in, but it doesn't creep in like it used to. And it's like,
your life, but you're aware of it. Yeah.
Being aware is huge. So I always preach, 100% being aware, but also being accountable. And in this world, we deal with a lot of people who struggle with 100% accountability. And there's a lot of victims, and there's a lot of people who want to go, well, that's their fault, and that's their fault, and this happened to me, and this happened to me. Well, what if you could say, I didn't allow this to happen, and you can protect yourself. And we had a great spiritual talk. So all this is tied to that. I always believe that you have to have something. I don't care if you believe in God, but what do you believe in? And I think there's too many people running around with zero beliefs. And these are the same people who are constantly being a victim. Their life's hitting them hard because they don't believe in something greater than themselves. And they have issues with religion. So let's just talk about some of that stuff, because me and you had a great convo the other night. And, when you're teaching people, how to ascend and how to tap in, what is your main focus when you're talking to somebody who may not have any spiritual grounding? Where do you go with that?
Well, that's a very deep talk. I feel like spiritually, some of the biggest challenges people have in the beginning is like physical blockages.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. You and I had talked recently about a liver cleanse, right?
Mm-hmm.
So liver is the organ of the body. So we have all these different organs that trap all these different type of energies, and different organs create different imbalances. But the liver creates all of our anger, all of our hatred. Every time that we've been hurt or lied to, we have these energetic blockages that are sitting inside our liver. So our liver is the size of a football. It's under our right side, like your right. And inside there, we have typical products will maybe help cleanse the outer level of it. And then there's the subsurface, and there's like the inner core. So the inner core is like all the lead, every single time you've literally touched gasoline, your pores have absorbed that, entered your bloodstream. Every time you put a shampoo in your hair that's full of toxins, it gets into the bloodstream within seconds. That ends up in the liver. So the liver is just constantly collecting all this stuff. So when the liver starts collecting all these things, what ends up happening is that we either become, it's either going to be the filter or the trash can. And for 9 times out of 10, it's the trash can for people. And they've built up all this toxicity, all this stuff. And so we're unable to work through a lot of the trials and tribulations of what other people have done to us. And what ends up happening is that it just stays stuck for our whole life. Right. But when you can actually, on a physical level, remove matter out of your body, the average person's carrying 10 to 30 pounds of undigested waste in their colon. When you start just changing the way that you eat, your lifestyle, forget about the spiritual talk, just on a physical level, cleansing the body of all this matter, by default, you're going to start to feel this energetic flow in your body.
Yeah.
By default. And so what ends up happening is that you start to feel better. And then it becomes like this vicious cycle of like feeling better and wanting to do better. And then it kind of opens up more doors of, okay, you know what? Like I want to look at a different aspect of healing. I'm working on the physical, let's work on the spiritual. But in the beginning, I feel like it's physically on a physical level. We have to get the toxicity out of the body because 99.999% of all diseases is just toxicity in the body.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I know that I've gone in the world of dieting. Like, so I was dieting and detoxing and dieting. And that doesn't always help either because your body's going, what is happening? And then you're loading it back up. And it's like just having people, there's lack of education around what you're talking about. People hear detox, they think, let's go get an enema and that doesn't work. Like you have to detox on a different level. And, people just need more knowledge. That's all it is, because we're surrounded by all this, I say propaganda, buy this product and buy this product and you'll look beautiful there. And it's all this surface level stuff where when you you can feel the shift. So I've done some very serious cleanses, and some of them are like, it's not about going to the bathroom. It's actually just about, you can tell what's happening in your skin, everything is shifting, and you really need to be guided by the right people because you can hurt yourself doing the wrong detoxes. And let's talk about that a little bit, because I've definitely been on that end where I'm like, this did not help me. This made me sick. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you have like too much overburden of toxins in the body and you cleanse too fast, the toxins end up in the bloodstream. So it has to go into the bloodstream for your body to like flush all that stuff out. And so sometimes for some people that are older, like for example, I went down this whole rabbit hole of fasting. Mm-hmm. And so at the beginning, I was trying to get to the core of my healing because in 2016, I got super sick. I developed an autoimmune condition called alopecia, lost half of my hair, had really bad eczema, psoriasis, lost 25, 30 pounds. I was like a stick. I had panic attacks, nervous breakdowns, headaches, migraines. It was like the worst experience. I wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy. And during that time, I said, you know what? I want to just go to the core of this. And I fasted. Now, when I started doing fasting, I had like really bad headaches, really bad migraines. Looking back at it, that wasn't the best way to start. But I jumped right in and I did a 6-day water fast. And that experience was incredible for me because in the end of it, it was really, really good. But for someone that's maybe like 67 years old, that's built up a lot of toxicity, or even someone that's our age, but has built up a lot of toxicity, it might be too much on the body too fast. And so it's really understanding what cleanse for what type of person and really taking it step by step versus like jumping all in, because sometimes you can actually do more harm than good. And so water fasting, I feel like is good, but I don't encourage doing more than like a 24 to 72 hour water fast in the beginning and building up from there. And even past 72 hours, unless you're looking for something like a deep spiritual answer, I don't even think that, water fasting, unless you're looking for something very special, there's other cleanses of certain foods that you can eat that are way more effective, in my opinion, than fasting. But fasting and liver cleanses and heavy metal detoxes, there's so many ways to go about it. But it's really understanding, like you said, being really careful about what you're doing for your body because everyone's different.
Absolutely. So I do want to talk a little bit about your journey with your autoimmune. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and with fibromyalgia, it's one of those things where they say it's fibromyalgia because they actually don't know. And I'm not saying fibromyalgia isn't real. I'm saying it's something going on that they don't even know. And so when you have all these things happening, and I was under PTSD, high stress, I was drinking because my anxiety kept happening. So I would drink to calm it. And then it was a vicious cycle. And then I stopped sleeping. And so let's just talk about the world, the amount of autoimmune that has gone on the rise in the last 20 years, even 15 years is mind blowing because of what we're eating. So I do want to talk to you about your journey with that. What was going on in your life where all of a sudden you're like, what's happening? Because I know you went through some stressful times and then this happened. It's like when our body's under stress, it's like, don't add another thing. But because we're stressed, our body starts to react. It's such a bad cycle. So how what was going on in your life? Where did, all of a sudden things were changing? I know you went through a lot of stuff with companies. You went through a lot of stuff personally with family. So if you're open to that, let's talk about it, because people need to hear like why these are being caused.
Totally. Well, they say that when it rains, it pours. That's kind of like how it is. When you can't imagine taking something on, you have to take on 10 times more. It's just weird like that, right? But, this is a little bit outside the box, but I've proven this philosophy through just people going through these programs. And so in the beginning, when I first heard this philosophy, which is how every single autoimmune condition is actually a viral infection. When I first heard that, I was like, come on, how is that even possible? Like how has the medical profession not figured this out after all this time? And it made a lot of sense, because when I started going through these protocols and I treated all these conditions as viral infections, it was literally 100 out of 100 of people that were going through these programs and getting these results. And it makes sense, because all these people that are going through these programs, prior to what I was sharing with them, well, they weren't getting results. It was either getting worse or they had it at bay, but nothing was really getting better. And so I ran into a gentleman by the name of Anthony William. He's written about 6 or 7 best-selling books. They call him the medical medium. And basically, he talks a lot about this philosophy, which is how every single autoimmune condition is a viral infection. And so whether it be, like diabetes, it's a viral infection in the liver, right?
Yep.
Thyroid, it's a viral infection in the throat. And so we have all these different autoimmune conditions that we're contracting from the most random places. The number one place that we get viral infections from is restaurants, believe it or not. Restaurants is number one. Number two, sharing drinks with people. Obviously making out with people. Like anytime we're exchanging anything with anyone, we're contracting these things. And the thing about it is that when you first contract it, it's at an infant stage. So you would never think anything of it. It's such a small thing. You don't see the repercussions until 5, 6, sometimes 10 years later. So a lot of kids today are being born with these conditions. Literally in the womb, they're contracting which was eczema. And the eczema doesn't start when they're 4 or 5 years old. They're consuming all this dairy, eczema spreading through their body, and then they're giving what my brother went through, really bad eczema at 6, 7 years old. They're giving him steroids to treat it. And he was taking steroids for 12, 13 years, which you should only be taking for a week or two for aggressive eczema. And then by the end of, his, 18, 19th year of life, literally his face got so infected, he looked like Freddy Krueger. It was so sad.
Oh no.
So, and then, he's going through his healing journey of the liver and understanding kind of what these things were and what people are taking to be able to counteract these things, but we're just treating everything the wrong way. We're just going after the symptom versus going to the root cause of the issue, which is it's a viral infection. The only way to treat a viral infection is to stop feeding the infection.
Correct.
Dairy, soy, believe it or not, things like corn. Corn back in the day, hundreds of years ago, was amazing for you. But now 99% of soy and corn is GMOs. So the chances of you finding clean corn, unless you're growing it in your backyard, is basically impossible. So then you're feeding it. Things like fermented foods, we're sold on kombucha and kimchi and sauerkraut and all these things being good for us. They're good if you don't have the viral infection, but 90% of Americans are walking around with these infections.
Yeah.
So you're consuming kombucha, you think it's good for you, but fermented foods feed existing infections. So it's this never-ending cycle, because it's like, how do you stop it unless you completely starve the infection? When you starve the infection, it no longer has power to grow. And the thing about viruses is that you can never kill them. Even what we're experiencing in the world today, you can't kill it. You can only detox it out of the body. So when you start consuming the right stuff to nourish the body, and you're taking in certain things that are cleansing the body, you could actually remove all the particles out of the body, and which is the last thing, the infant eggs that the viruses leave. Sometimes they feel amazing for 2, 3 years, but then the eggs of the infection are still in our system. We haven't cleansed deep enough. It comes back into remission. Even cancer is a viral infection. And so once you cleanse all that out of your body, and then you understand the protocols to make sure that even when you're contracting infant stages, for example, oregano oil, every time I go to a restaurant, I consume oregano oil right afterwards. Now, if I did contract something, which is eventually going to happen, you're killing the infant stages and you're cutting it at its root.
That is, wow. Like, that is like, right there, I'm sitting here going, I need to get it together because I mean, I take care of myself, but we all have to be better about and look at what's going on in the world today. I mean, we don't have to bring up the word or nothing, but I mean, we see that everyone's trying to, well, do this and do that. And when we talk about even covering our faces and doing things, it's actually harming us because you cannot be breathing that air. It's actually people's immune systems are so weakened right now from trying to protect themselves that they're actually hurting themselves. And I want, and I respect everybody's decision. And I do. I just, for me, I know like if I wear a mask, like when I'm on an airplane, like what happens to me is I'm really struggling. Like I can breathe, but I'm not breathing well. And I have to get that off. Mask me. Like this is basic stuff. Skin issues, all the skin issues that we're going through right now. I had to get multiple antibiotics and antifungals because the first few times that I had to fly, my face broke out so badly. And now I have special sprays for when I have to fly that protects my face, and they're natural, but it like has a barrier. So I don't have those issues. But there are so many things that we could do better. And I'll say it that we can do so much better. And there's natural ways to do things.
Like sunlight. No one talks about sunlight.
No one talks about sun. You have to be in the sun. And we're all sleeping in our houses for a year and a half. And I have a deck now. So I have tons of windows. I'm just constantly like, I want to be in the sun, and I'm in California a lot too. And I soak up the sun because, Duluth, Minnesota, we don't get the sun, for most of the time. So I take D3, vitamin D. We have to have these protocols and we can help people. I'm not saying that we have cures. That's not what we're saying, but we definitely can help a lot of people. And it's just the lack of knowledge because so much stuff is being thrown at us that we're like, well, we'll do this or we'll do this. And it's like, no, there's natural ways to do these things. And so you went through an autoimmune. I know, going through medical issues anytime, it will.
Yeah. Especially in a time when you're expected to perform, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it happens where I wish I could have just lied in bed and not be stressed out and just allowed my body to run its course. But during that time, like I told you, in a 3 to 4 month period, my father was dying for years. And then it was a process of, finding out I was going to become a dad, to my wife and I both losing both of our businesses the same month. I don't even know how you time that at the same month. So we lost 90% of our household income on the same month. And then on top of that, my father dies and my son's born in this 3 to 4 month period. So now I'm starting with this new life, but I'm not mentally, physically, spiritually, and especially not financially prepared for all this.
Yeah.
Because, our company had gone under. So having to perform in a time when, like right now I have zero anxiety, but if I had anxiety and you having to like deliver and show up and be present and, it was tough, getting through that. And so I have a huge heart for people that, who doesn't have to perform, who doesn't have a family to take care of, who doesn't have to work hard, right? Mm-hmm. When you add on anxiety and stress and then, the insecurity of not looking the way you want to look, and you just add all these things up, and then financial devastation, it's tough. People are going through a lot right now.
They are. And the stress and the pressure too. And, you see it all over social media and you see it in everywhere we are. So what would your advice be for somebody who's going through not only medical, but things in business? Because we talk a lot about business too. Obviously, we're both in business, we're entrepreneurs. You see these people, you see a lot of things popping up, and, we've got Bitcoin and cryptocurrency they're taking off. And, I guess what would be your advice right now for somebody who is maybe in the same situation you were? We both experienced loss in business. We both had to go through major shifts very rapidly. I'm curious what you would say to someone. Maybe they lost their business. Maybe they had to step back from their business because they didn't agree with something. Maybe they're really looking. I'm not advertising any specific area. I'm saying, what would you do? Because you had your business ripped from you in a day. Mm-hmm. What would you do? What did you do? I should ask you that. What did you do that very second that happened when you're like, I have a baby coming, I have a wife, we have everything, and I'm sick? What did you do? Because entrepreneurs do it.
Yeah. Well, I wish I did nothing in that moment the first time. Instead of like scrambling and stressing and having anxiety, well, I wish I knew what I understand now, which is do nothing and let yourself sit with it.
Yeah.
Because whether you want to talk about it from a spiritual perspective and it's like the divine or consciousness coming down, or it's just your subconscious, right? Because 99% of all of our ideas and thoughts and our greatness and our genius is in our subconscious, but we can't tap into that subconscious if we're stressing and worrying.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, there's resources and people and situations and information that we know, like innately we know, but we can't tap into it because we're worried, right? And so what I encourage for a lot of people is sit with yourself 5 minutes in the morning. Just start with 5 minutes every morning. Just wake up, and before you even drink a glass of water, take a sip if you need to, but just sit for 5 minutes and allow your body, your mind, and your soul to kind of sit with itself and get in sync with itself. That way you're tapping into something way greater than your own like primitive conscious mind. Because then you have access to more information that you didn't before.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. So I always tell people, and something has been my mantra, never make big changes or decisions in the valley.
Yes.
Because now that doesn't mean you do have to make decisions sometimes when things happen. But I agree with you, because if I could think about what I did right, there was things I did wrong, but there was things I did right. I had to make a very big decision, and I sat on it for almost 6 months, and I let it come to me. And it was a decision to shift to a different platform and company. And I took my time instead of making a decision on a low. And I had sat on it, and I was just letting the spiritual, whatever you want to call it, I was letting it come to me, because I'm like, I want to make this decision properly and not in a state of emotion. And I 100% agree with you. I've had things happen and I've made quick decisions, and I always am like, oh my God, if I would have just thought about it, or if I would have just sat on it. And sometimes you do sit, and it could be 10 minutes and you can make a decision. Sometimes you can sit, it could be 10 days. And sometimes it could be freaking 5 years. I mean, you don't know, but you have to, when it's a big decision, you have to really tap into that moment of clarity. But if you are adding all this craziness to it, there's no way that the divine, the spiritual, whatever you believe in, can get to you. And even your subconscious is yelling at you, but you can't even hear it because you're sitting on social media panicking, and you're messaging everyone, and you're getting on the phone with everyone. You don't need to do that. Take a breath and possibly meditate. And I know you're into yoga. I'm a yogi. You're a yogi. Yoga got me through a lot. And yoga is a place where I can go in like this, and I will leave with the answer or peace.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that, like things we do, things people can do, actions people can do. I know yoga's for me. I think it's for everybody. I think everybody needs to, even if it's basic. You don't have to be a fitness, anything for yoga. You can do all the modifications. You can have
less who you are, the more it's for you.
Exactly. It's such a practice of the mind. Obviously detoxing and cleansing, but like activities, getting out in the sunshine. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it, because let's get people in the right space right now, because they're going, Shylo, tell me what to do. Eddie, tell me what to do, because I'm panicking.
Yeah.
Like, if you are having these major shifts or major problems health-wise, what are the things you do? I know you garden. Let's talk about that. Green thumb. That's so healthy for you. Not even the eating, the practice.
Yeah. Gardening is, I garden probably 5-6 hours a day. I'm in the garden all the time. And it's more, in the beginning, it was just, I wanted to have self-sustaining food, because I just want to have my own food. I want to grow my own stuff, because I feel like the stuff in the store is just not quality. And then it just became like a passion of mine of just like, now I go out there and I just try to find something to do. And sometimes there's nothing to do because everything's already doing well and it's growing. But whatever it is that creates that like peace for you. Some people it's running, some people it's going for a walk. Going back to what we were saying earlier, when have you ever made a decision rushed in a hurry that ended up producing good fruit? It's like hardly ever. Like hardly ever when we rush or we stress or we panic, or someone's on a deal and you want to get ahead of the deal and you end up buying something, or or like someone's like thinking about a concept, you buy 15 websites that have something around to do with the name, and you end up doing nothing with it.
I've done it. I'm laughing because I'm like, well, I did that. I did that.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like when we can just like take a step back and just figure out what calms us. A lot of people say, I don't need discipline. Those are all just stories that we tell ourselves. Because in the beginning, Darren Hardy he wrote a book called, what's Darren Hardy's book? The Compound Effect.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Start small and you bake and you grow. And he says success, it's boring, it's laborious, it's not fun, it's a process. But in the beginning of like just consistently disciplining yourself in certain areas, like the 5 minutes in the morning and then going for a walk and then having a smoothie every morning, like that every morning, people don't understand will astronomically change every area of your life. But we don't see it in the physical right away. In the beginning, it's just an energetic shift. But you don't see that in these energetic shifts from the gardening, from the walking, changing up your water, consuming good water. You start layering these things, eating healthier foods, taking out the crap, consuming, less sugary drinks, drinking only on weekends. Like you start layering all these things. Before you know it, you have all these things that are making you feel good. You become addicted to feeling good. A lot of people don't know that taking cold showers or ice therapy is clinically proven to be more effective than antidepressant drugs. And so some people, they're going through antidepressants or they're depressed, they're taking these antidepressants and makes them feel good temporarily, but it's sabotaging their liver, which is going to give them something really, really bad down in the future. When we just build good habits in our life, you can heal that now, but then you're preserving your life force throughout your entire life. So there's numerous things that we can do. It's just starting really small and building up those victories.
And the other thing about Habits Compound Effect is such a good book. It's so basic, and it's like it just gets you. So if anyone's looking for a book, it's always one of the books I recommend. But that can be an opposite effect too. Your habits determine everything, and that's good or bad. Yeah. Like I see, if I ask people, when they talk to me about, maybe working with me or what's going on, the first thing I ask them is, tell me about the beginning of your morning. Tell me your first 2 hours of your morning. What are you doing? Most of the time, it's a nightmare. Most of the time, like, well, I get up, I look at Facebook, I do this, and I'm like, don't get on your phone. Number one, if you have an alarm, I get it. Put it away. Get a routine. You need to be filling your brain with healthy things. You need to move your body. You need to get spiritually open. So if whatever you need to listen to, if it's on YouTube, whatever it is, whatever helps you, you need to get that in your body. You need to be moving, taking a walk. I tell people, you do not have to be a bodybuilder or a fitness professional, but we need to get you moving, because if your body is if you're sitting in your pajamas all day, I'm guilty of it. I've done it many times where I've just sat there and I'm sad. I went through depression too. I started making my bed every day and I don't miss a day. Oh, hell, I'll make someone else's bed. I mean, I don't even care. Like, I'm like, gotta make a bed. Because it's just teaching and training your body and your mind to develop this, because over time, it's going to get faster and better. And all of a sudden, your entire day is done in 4 hours. You literally have your whole day, and you were more productive in 4 hours than you would have been sitting in your pajamas for 10. And it's just so important what we feed ourselves with. And that's not just food. It's social media, it's propaganda, it's whatever. I don't watch the news, haven't watched the news in years. I barely watch TV. If I do, it's a movie on Netflix that I want to watch. Other than that, I rarely am on any type of, but I'm on social media a lot for my business. So, as we kind of wrap up here over the next 5-6 minutes, you and your wife have a company, you have a website, you've done pretty crazy things. She's highly successful in her field, what she's doing. Super proud of her too, by the way. I love your wife. You've built an incredible family. You've built an incredible team. You've built so many things, but your Bear Dad community is really special. So let's talk about that before we go, because it's really important.
Yeah. So Verdad in Spanish means truth.
Okay.
And so we launched that in January of 2020. And then right after that, COVID hits, we had a huge, I don't even know how many, at least 3,000 or 4,000 square foot center. It was really big. And it was going to be like a networking space. We had incredible products. We were going to build our business out of that. juice bar, smoothie bar, all that stuff. And then COVID hit. So I kind of put a kink in kind of like how we were going to go about the marketing and our home studio and all that stuff. But the philosophy of what we've been working on is still continuing. We're still putting people through cleanses and helping people, but it's just a community to help people find balance in the mind, body, and soul. I feel that people struggle with understanding like what balance is. For a long time, I didn't believe balance existed. I think there's no such thing as balance, but I've come to the realization for me that there is. You really can find balance in your life. And it's showing people how to achieve that, whether it be stay at home with 3 kids and knowing how to handle that stress, or a business person, whether they're a millionaire or not, it's how to handle that company stress. But we all have the ability to handle almost unlimited amounts of stress, but our body and our mind have to be ready to handle that. And I feel like so many people, they sabotage, whether it be now, early in their career, or later in their career, but they'll sabotage in an area of life because it becomes too much. It becomes like they can't handle it. And so giving people a platform, especially for men, I feel like men, they're meant to lead their families. And a lot of times the men becoming so imbalanced, not knowing how to like balance out the leadership in their home, it just creates all kinds of issues. And then what ends up happening is that you start passing these generational curses to our kids.
Yes.
And kids have one, and then our kids pass that down. We can actually break those curses by just, working through our traumas. I hate using the word curse because it seems like it's never reversed, but it's at the end of the day, it's energetic traumas, blockages in our body that are blocked. And when you can work through them, when you're around someone that's not blocked, you can feel that. And it unblocks you just by being around them, just by being present with them. And then there's all these healing modalities of meditation and yoga and things that you can eat and all these things that kind of puts the whole thing together. So now we can help people heal at a very, very deep level. And, just by people's results, that inspires others to want to go do the same. So, it's kind of like it's like a ripple effect.
So forgive my Spanish. I have a couple of friends and I'm like, do not speak Spanish to me. I'm terrible. Verdad. I love that. I absolutely love it. And I've been following that, when you started, I was super excited. So can you, spell it out for everybody? And we're going to have a link too dropped in here. Don't worry about it. But if somebody's looking for you, Eddie, and I think a lot of people will be, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah. So the best platform, I'm on all social media platforms, Eddie Mentore, mentor with an E at the end, Mentore. But I think that if, to me, nothing fulfills me and gets me more excited than people going through these protocols and people healing, because when they go through these stories, or when I get the stories back of them going through these protocols, to me, that's the most exciting thing. Because I feel like that's an easy place to start. 5 minutes of meditation in the morning, and then changing basic eating lifestyle things, like very simple, like celery juice in the morning will change your life. Waking up in the morning, keeping fats in the evening will change your life. But going through these protocols, if you go to verdad.com, VERDAAD, you put in your email and we'll send you access to the liver detox. And that's the best place I feel like for people to start, because now they're learning about what foods heal them, what foods are hurting them. A lot of the things that we think are adding value to our life, like kombucha, temporarily in this season of our life is not helping. So we want to cut those things out. And it makes the healing process just like astronomically change way differently. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the best place to start. And then from there, just being part of the community and, chime in if you have any questions, but we're here to help you.